Hey, podcast listeners, welcome to another episode of the Thriving Dog Podcast. Before we get into today's awesome episode with Heidi Huebner, just a quick reminder to head over to thrivingdog.co and sign up to get updates on every time we launch a new episode, along with lots of other cool tips, tricks, etc. about keeping your dog healthy and happy, again at thrivingdog.co. So today on the show, I'm really excited to talk with Heidi Huebner. She's the founder of Pups Unstressing Passengers, also known as the PUP Program. And her pup volunteers work out of LAX Airport in Los Angeles, where their job is to use those wet noses and wagging tails to help stressed out passengers before and after their flights. So before leading the LAX Pups, Heidi was the director of volunteer programs for Los Angeles Animal Services. She was also the founder and executive director of Kids and Pets, a nonprofit that raises awareness through education and research. You can learn more about Heidi and see the LAX Pups hard at work on Instagram at LAX Pups. Great handle. Heidi, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Hi, everyone.
They all say hi back. So why don't you take a second to fill in anything I might have missed there, and we'll get all about what you and the pups do.
You did. That was actually a great intro, and you covered all of it. I love your definition of what we do.
Well, I have Krista to thank for that, because she's the one who, did all the research. So I'll give a quick round of applause to Krista on that and make sure it all flows. So thanks.
So anyway, why did we start the program, right? Is that probably the first question?
Yeah, I was since we got the intro right, I guess the onus is on me to ask a question. So yeah, why don't you just kind of walk us through, maybe from the beginning of maybe just where your love of dogs started and how that led you into the program. Connect all those dots for us.
Perfect. So I have loved animals since the day I was born, and have been an advocate for rescuing and adopting, and I've just always had this connection and the bond that we have with our dogs and with all animals. It just made sense to me, and just having my own dogs and rescuing, and I've seen what they've done for me and friends in my life, that before I even knew what animal therapy was, them just being comforting to somebody in need. When I started Kids and Pets, humane education program, and seeing how that would really change these kids' world around, who maybe never had an opportunity to pet a dog or be with a dog. And we had other animals in the program too. We had a cat, we had a lizard. And so kids being able to open up and talk about things, and being able to ask questions, and being able to read easier. So we had a lot of different programs with Kids and Pets. It wasn't just about, petting the animals, but and then also working with seniors. Other groups started doing similar programs, and it was like, wow, we're on to something. There's a need for this. So fast forward to starting the PUP program. Where is the most stressful place? An airport. So when they hired me to revamp their volunteer program, we have our volunteers at the information booths. We answer questions for people. The light bulb went off, and I said, okay, wait a second. We need to have a therapy dog program here, just like we do at schools and at hospitals, at senior centers, etc. So upper management was very open to the idea, and they said, let's figure this out. How can we do this? And I do have to give credit to San Jose. They, after 9/11, started a therapy dog program with volunteers, with the chaplains, and have been doing amazing work. So I called them just to say, this is great. You guys have done this. So I know that we can do this at LAX, too. And point, just, making sure the and the T's were crossed and all the questions answered to make sure the program would be safe and successful. And we were launched that in April 20. Oh my gosh, it's almost a year. I mean, It's almost our anniversary, April 15th, tax day 2013. And so we are celebrating our 7th year this April.
Wow. So this program did not exist before you came in and had the light bulb moment, like you said.
Yeah, and I really have to pat LAX on the back. again, for allowing me the opportunity to create and develop this, because we've become the experts in the field. And as of today, there are 90 airports nationwide that have similar programs, and that number does continue to grow. I get phone calls at least from 2 or 3 airports a month of somebody new wanting to start. And also the great thing, some of the other airports also help airports start programs. So it's just really wonderful to see how it's grown.
Wow, and I imagine they're finding you through the LAX website there, the lawa.org website where you're on there.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So anyone listening who wants to learn more about the PUP program, Heidi and her program are on there at lawa.org/volunteer-opportunities/PUP-program.
Yes.
Now,
I'm happy to share my phone number as well.
Okay. So
if anybody wants to come. Yep. Ready?
We're ready.
Okay. 424-646-7867.
Awesome. And your email address is on there too.
Correct.
And that's Huebner, HUEBNER @lawa.org.
Correct.
So, I'm really excited to get into this because I think there's a lot of lessons that come from, your program. We talked about earlier that, dog parents whose dog isn't a therapy dog like this can learn and benefit from, and is going to make, enrich the life of not only their dog, but also, their own life as well. But before we get into all that, can you just, how does a dog become a what's the word? Pup? Well, pup. How does a dog become a what is it? PUP is
PUP.
Pets Unstressing Passengers.
Right.
And in these days, maybe we just need a more general overarching one of Pets Unstressing People.
People, right. I think that's kind of the next acronym we'll be using for that. So to be a therapy dog in any program, first of all, the dog has to be able to do it and has to want to do it. So with that being said, when somebody's interested in the program, they fill out an application and they send it in. I'll look over the application and call them if I have any questions, or just to have them come in with their dog to do an initial meet and greet. So when we do the meet and greet, looking for at both the volunteer and the dog, I'm making sure the volunteer has their eyes on the dog and they're paying attention to their dog. And I'm looking for the dog to be curious and tail wagging and wanting to visit all of my staff and coworkers in the office. I'm looking for that just pleasant personality and that calm demeanor.
Social butterfly.
Exactly. Not hyper, but a calm social butterfly. And if I'm seeing all of that, and I'm going to pet the dog, I'm going to pet their face, and I'm going to go down their body and kind of rub their legs and gently squeeze their legs and paws, because I need to make sure they're not going to react, because we have kids in the terminals and a child might accidentally, grab too hard, maybe pull an ear or a tail. So we want to make sure a dog would not be reactive to anything like that. Once the office meet and greet goes well, then I'll take them to the terminal and we'll do a walkthrough in the back area where there's a lot of action going on, to make sure that there's nothing that spooks the dog, bags coming down, the loud noises, lots of people rushing around. If all of that goes well and I get a good sense that the dog is going to be able to be in the program, and again, still watching the volunteer to make sure that they're engaging with our guests and customers, it's two-part. It's not only the dog, but the volunteer needs to also be warm and fuzzy, because a lot of people share things, and it's really wonderful to see that happen. So when that all goes well with me, then they will move on to Alliance of Therapy Dogs. That's the group that we partner with, and that also holds the volunteer and the airport on their insurance. There are 3 tests that the volunteer and dog go through with one of their tester observers. And once they pass all of those 3 tests, then they will be registered and certified with Alliance of Therapy Dogs. Then they come back to me and we will do a background check and fingerprints, and then they will get their badge. And then I will make sure that, the terminal where everything is and educate them on the training they're working in, and then they're ready to go.
And what is the timeline on that entire process that you just masterfully laid out?
So it depends on their availability. If they've got easy time to schedule the testings with the tester observer, we can probably get everything done in about a month and a half.
Okay. And since you're in the LA area, do you have any restrictions on, what geographical radius the volunteer and the dog need to be within?
That's a great question. We don't. We have a volunteer, actually two, that come from Bakersfield. And for anybody familiar with California, that is at least a 2-hour drive without traffic. So sometimes it takes them 3 hours to get into the airport, and they are dedicated 1 day a week to come in to share the love.
Is that dog's name Dude by chance?
So we had, we do have even Dude. They come from Santa Clarita, which is far too. But that is actually Gina and her dog.
Okay.
She had her dog Tucker, who unfortunately passed away. She has a new dog who has taken over Tucker. We miss Tucker very much, but Gina's so dedicated.
Okay. Yeah, because I have a brand of products just for golden retrievers, and so got to know a husband and wife who had a big kind of English cream golden, and his name was Dude, and he was a service dog and did lots of things. So when you said Bakersfield, they live at least near there, so I thought that maybe that was Dude.
Yeah, different. We have a different Dude, but.
Well, good to know that you don't have a geographical limit, because my sister has her little golden puppy who's about 8 months old now, Gidget, and Allie has potential aspirations for her to be a therapy dog. So this could be one of those things that she gives a shot at.
That would be great.
And I assume that the volunteer and the dog are always the dog parent, and the dog are matched, right? You never
Correct.
have a dog who isn't with their owner.
Right, because that's the number one rule is, that if that's the dog you register and search, you're the only one that can hold the leash when the dog is working.
Got it.
Yeah, I have a husband-wife team, so they're both able to handle the dogs. They both pass the tests, but I could not take one of my volunteers' dogs into work. I can only take my two.
Got it. And again, for folks who are interested in learning more, reaching out, potentially seeing if they and their dog can make the cut on this, do you ever take inquiries through your Instagram account as well?
I do. A lot of people through our Facebook and Instagram will reach out, and then we'll just talk directly.
Okay. And for those listening, that's at LAX Pups. So Heidi, we talked a little bit earlier about your passion around the idea that every dog needs a job. So why don't you just cut loose on that topic?
Okay, thank you. So dogs want to be useful, and they want to be needed, and they want a job. Lots of different jobs for dogs. You could have your dog that's a couch potato. That's the job that they have, to be your TV buddy, your exercise buddy. A lot of people with horses have their trail dogs that are with them. We have therapy dogs, service dogs, emotional support dogs, and, just our dogs. So I always say to people, when you have a dog, it's a commitment for life. You have to think, what's my lifestyle like and what am I looking for? So if you're a really person, you want your dog to be a part of your hiking and running and jogging and beach activities, you need to find a dog that has the stamina and the endurance for that. So you want to look for breeds and mixes and personalities that can do that with you. One thing I always get concerned about, if I sometimes see somebody jogging on the street and here's a dog behind them that is barely keeping up, and they're thinking, oh, my dog wants exercise. Well, the dog might need a slower pace exercise, maybe just walking in the neighborhood, not running behind you. Vice versa, having a dog who's got a lot of energy and not getting them out to do long walks and exercise is also a disservice to them. And one thing I really am proud of in service dog field, where they only used to raise certain breeds for that, they're finding out that there are other breeds that can make the cut to be that. And also for search and rescue dogs, they're finding there are a lot of shelter dogs who maybe have a lot of high intense energy that people who adopted them, it was too much for their family life. But for a search and rescue dog, they found their calling. So it's like all day long, they want to search and find and do. And so rather than breeding dogs to do that, adopting dogs and finding those dogs in the shelters and rescue groups to do those jobs is really a step in the right direction.
Interesting. And, in your experience, you've probably seen a lot of incompatible human-dog situations. So what are some of the more common ones that, let's say someone's listening and they don't have a dog right now and they're trying to find one that is compatible. Are there any, kind of like more typical archetypes of bad matches that you've seen?
So first, I'm going to back up for 1 second. Anybody who's never had a dog before, maybe they had a dog as a kid with their family, but we know the parents are probably taking care of the dog. Fostering to see how it works, and if you are going to be able to have the time to have a dog is a great option. You're helping out if you're doing that through the shelter or rescue group, you're helping them out. So I would always suggest if you can foster first to make sure you're ready to be committed. But going back to the other part of your question, the worst thing I hear is people with young kids, let's go get a puppy. It's like, oh my gosh, a puppy, you've got 3 young kids, you're bringing another young child to your house, and puppies are a lot of work. They're like having another kid. The potty training, they're going to chew, all of the things, just like you're trying to train your toddlers and kids, the same thing with the puppy. And we see it over and over again. Puppies getting returned to the shelter because it was too much work, because they were doing so much damage, because the people weren't thinking beforehand what that was going to take. So I think it's really important, when you're ready to adopt, talking to wherever that group is, the rescue group or the shelter, and letting them know what the style is, bringing the entire family in so they can all make the decision on what dog they are feeling bonded. There are, play areas you can get the dog out to see how they're interacting. A lot of times you're bringing in maybe a small dog because the family is thinking, oh, a small dog is easier. And again, the small dog in maybe the particular situation with the young kids are too much. So therefore, the dog might be afraid of them, or they don't want to bond with them or play with them. So all of a sudden, the kids don't like the dog because, it doesn't like them. Not that it doesn't like them, but the dog is feeling uncomfortable or nervous. So it's really, just doing your homework and finding the right fit. I always say an older dog, 3 or 4 years old, is a good fit for kids. This way, most of them, if they haven't been trained, it's easier to train and is going to be a successful placement.
Interesting. Going back to the, I guess let's talk about the, every dog should have a job topic a little bit more. So what are some of the more common jobs that, or maybe it's what job might be inside a dog that the parent doesn't know is inside the dog, but if they did and they were able to unleash that and let that out, would make for much happier relationship on both sides.
Right. So part of along with that is when you're bringing your new dog into your home, training and making sure the dog has good training and manners. As you're doing that, you're getting to bond with and learn about your dog. So, and again, a job for a dog might be agility. So you've got that dog that just loves, agility courses, or loves, going to a place where they have obstacle courses to go through. So that's something when, trying things out with your dog as well. You're going to find out really quickly, oh my gosh, my dog loves this or not so much. I have 4 dogs. 2 of them are therapy dogs, and the other 2 are older seniors, and, they would both have been great therapy dogs, but at this point in their life, they just want to be couch potatoes with us. The other two live to do therapy. Wherever we are, they just want to make sure they're comforting people. The one is super, super social and loves going to the dog park and playing with other dogs. The other one is really social, but just wants to sit and watch all of the other dogs play at the dog park. So, the dogs will show you their personalities and who they are if you pay attention.
Now, when it comes to the therapy, the LAX pups, to what extent are there one breed over another that kind of fit your criteria?
This is what I love about our program. We have so many different dogs. We have no breed restriction. We have mixed breeds. We have dogs of all ages and sizes. So our smallest dog, we have Ms. Penelope, who's a little Chihuahua, all the way up to 2 Irish Wolfhounds in the program.
Oh, wow.
Truman and Redford, and everything in between. And, we've got pit bulls, we've got Rottweilers, we've got Shepherd mixes, Goldens, Doodles, you name it, we've got it.
Okay.
Yeah, and one thing really quickly, at one point we had a tripod, we had a deaf dog and a blind dog. So dogs with disabilities, just like people, if they want to do it and can do it, we welcome them.
Excellent. Well, I'll have to pass this episode along to my buddy AJ and his wife Erin. They have a Rottweiler Great Dane mix, and she's super friendly. Her name is Callie. And, maybe maybe it's something they could give a shot, because I always have in my mind, when you described kind of the ideal dog in that first scenario, I'm just thinking, all right, that's a golden retriever. They come in, they're happy. They love people. They're perfect with kids. You can pull on their ears, etc. But then you mentioned all these other breeds that, sometimes they have different stigmas associated with them, but might not be the case, and can certainly be a great fit for what you guys are doing.
Exactly. And that's when it comes down to, again, when we say, can they do it and do they want to? So again, any breed, as long as they have that, and, pass all the tests, they're able to participate.
And how long in that initial session can you tell right away what this dog's a fit or this dog's not a fit, given all your experience?
I can tell right away. I can tell as soon as they enter the office of the dog, because if a dog comes into my office and is timid or shy at all, they are not going to feel comfortable in the terminal. And, that is something that you can work with, but like people, people shy tend to stay shy. They can maybe feel more comfortable practicing, talking in front of audiences or whatnot. But, if you think about it, like my friends who've always been shy are still shy. My friends that are super, super outgoing
right.
are always outgoing. So, dogs are the same way.
Yeah. So you look for the dogs that have a bias in that direction towards sociability with people already.
Yeah. And they want to come up. It's like, they want to come up and greet them and lean on them and, sit for them and, just enjoy being pet by, people.
So the next thing I'm curious about is, because I don't think I've come across any dogs, I've been through LAX a lot. What can you just walk us through a setting of someone as, an everyday passenger walking through the terminal, and one of the LAX pups is there with their pet parent? What is going on?
So this is my favorite reaction. People, they kind of squint, they're looking, oh my gosh, does that say pet me? Oh my gosh, that says pet me. I can pet your dog. Ah! And the smiles and really I can pet the dog. And they just come over, and it's like a chain reaction. One person starts, then everybody is like, oh my gosh, it's one of the pups. One of the pet me dogs, they like to call them. And it's so great because you can feel the stress level drop. You really feel it. And even if people aren't interacting with the dogs, you can see them smiling from afar, or like calling somebody and saying, oh my gosh, one of the therapy dogs is here and it's so great. And, just sharing the story of people and taking pictures. And of course, they love doing selfies. It's I would love to know how many like Instagrams our dogs are on. I mean, in the hundreds of thousands now.
Wow. Do you have on the PetMe, do you have the handle at LAX Pups on there?
We do. And
Okay,
on
cool.
shirts too, yeah.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is it's not like there are a portion of passengers that go and tell TSA or the airport people that, hey, I'm really stressed about flying. Can you bring a dog to me? It's more of the dogs are just roaming around, and it's more of an invitation because of the word pet me on there for folks to just come up and play with dogs. And so the dogs are really only being interacted with people who are probably dog people as opposed to people who aren't. Do I have that right?
You do. You do. And so they're, post-screening. So once you've gone through TSA and you're in the terminal, ready to get on your flight, or people who are, coming through to exit, that's where we are. And, they roam around. It's a lot of times they don't even get past where they first walk in. I don't think anybody's ever really made it all the way down to the end of the terminal and back in one sitting because, like I said, it's a chain reaction. Once one person starts, it just continues.
When you say someone makes it all the way to the end, you mean a volunteer and their dog, because they're getting stopped along the way. They're not making it all the way to the end of the terminal.
Right.
Got it. And what's a typical session like, a typical rotation? How long?
Okay, the volunteers come in 1 day a week for 2 hours. Now, with that being said, it's all about the dog. Sometimes if there is a lot of energy on, the dog, if they're tired after an hour and a half, and they'll let you know. They kind of give you the signs. And this is why I look for the volunteers to always be conscientious and paying attention to their dog, because when they start seeing that, it's time to go. We never push the dogs longer for that they want to be there. So, or sometimes they're good for over 2 hours. Sometimes they just need to take a break. I have a couple, pups, they'll take like a 15-minute siesta or, relaxing time, and then they're ready to go again for a little bit longer. So, it all depends on the day and what's going on.
Excellent. Now, do you travel with your dogs on planes at all?
I don't.
Any tips that you might have for folks that do, that you kind of heard from other pet parents?
That is an excellent question. So traveling with your dog, you need to get them prepared for what that's going to look like. So if your dog, is not used to being in public places, you're taking them to a very, very public place with a lot of activity and energy going on. So what I would suggest is start getting your dog out to public places, maybe taking them to the shopping mall or, in your neighborhood, or to the parks where there are lots of kids and people, so they're getting used to sights and sounds. Also taking them to the airport, walking around baggage claim. Again, this is your own personal dog. It's not a therapy, so you don't want to come interacting with your dog. If they're not used to that, you don't want your dog to maybe react and do something negative. This is just getting them used to the sights and the sounds. If your dog has to be crated because they're too big, if they have to go in cargo, it's very important that you start crate training them so they feel comfortable being in a crate. The worst thing you could do if you've never had your dog in a crate, you're taking them to the airport, it's all scary, it's all strange, and you're putting them in a crate, they're going to have they're going to have a lot of anxiety and get very, very nervous. So you would want to have a crate in your living room at your house with a comfortable cushion or blanket in it, and let the dog get used to being in there, and start crate training where you're shutting the door, so they know that that's their comfortable place, leaving them in there, for a couple hours. Again, depending on the flight, if it's a longer flight, there's great information online on how to crate train, but please, if you travel and you've never had your dog in a crate before, do those necessities. And also see what the rules and regulations are for the airport. Will vary a little bit differently, and talk to your vet as well.
Okay. Excellent. Well, in terms of, LAX Pups and expanding the program into other airports, Is that something that is on your agenda to do, or your goals, or is it more of people just come to you and you give as much help as you can?
When we first launched this, at a conference, I did a presentation on the program, and this years ago or 8 years ago, and it was really great. All of the airports who were interested in starting it, and now it's to the point. Like I said, there are 90 airports nationwide and internationally that have programs, which is wonderful, and I want to see that number continue to grow. When I get calls sometimes, I had a call from a small airport, and their upper management said, well, we're not really a huge airport. We don't have a lot going on. Is it really necessary? And I said, of course it's necessary. It's necessary for the employees too. Our airport police and our TSA agents and vendors, they enjoy interacting with the dogs as well. And I said, you never know why people are traveling. Somebody could be traveling for a very sad reason, and that dog and volunteer happen to be there, and it completely can change and turn their day around, which we see happen all the time. So I always say there is not an airport that's too small. Everybody can have a program.
Mm. Now, not every airport has Heidi Huebner to be there and screen the volunteer and the dog. So it seems like one of the challenges would be ensuring that right mix. And so how have you seen airports manage that? I mean, how do they find the equivalent of you locally in order to do that?
A lot of them will find somebody internally who's working in the airport. A lot of them have volunteer programs like our VIP program I had talked about at the information booths. And that's something that I do, the ones that I've helped, I talk to them about to say, you have to find somebody who is passionate and cares and has the type of personality who loves volunteers. Because they're volunteers, they do this because they want to, not because they have to. So I have to say the airports have been really good about finding, wonderful people who want to do this as their job. And that's why they're all successful too. So.
Got it. And how are you guys funded, or is it just, entirely volunteer?
We have our budget. So I actually work for the city of LA, and this is my amazing job. I'm so blessed. Every day I'm grateful for what I do. So we have a budget. It's not a very big budget. The volunteers, Alliance of Therapy Dogs, they have to pay to test to get education with them. And I think it's only $30 a year, which is great because you always want to make sure that everybody's in compliance. They've got their vet records, the dogs are happy and following all of that, checklist. We provide the uniform. We provide a vest for the dogs and a t-shirt for the volunteers. And then we also provide the training manuals for them. We have the fingerprinting and badging for them and the trading cards. So, it's really not a lot of money when you think of all the hours that these guys put in. It's priceless. Got
it. Excellent. Well, Heidi, I think we covered a lot of ground here. I just wanted to ask one more question around the topic of, every dog needs to have a job, and that just really resonates with me. And I felt like, maybe we didn't go into enough depth. So is there anything else you'd like to say on that topic?
Again, there are so many great things you can do with your dog and so many needs for dogs. So I'm going to go back to being a therapy dog again. A lot of therapy dogs may not be right for LAX or airports, but it doesn't mean that they're not right to visit with seniors or to do reading rooms or animal afternoons and different things like that. So I always tell people, don't be discouraged. And if you are wanting to do work, with a therapy dog, then try to go there and find the dog with that person you're adopting them. I've helped a lot of people in placing dogs with families who are looking to do that. Also, a lot of families with kids with autism and other special needs. Service dogs, not dogs that are trained for deaf, blind, seizure. Those are highly trained dogs that come from programs. Those do need to be raised by puppies. So I'm not talking service dogs, but more of like an emotional support dog or a dog, for somebody with a need, again, ESA dog or autism. There are so many awesome dogs out there that have that right fit and personality that just want to be with that person only. That's the type of dog that we're looking for a person with that type of need. And there are tons of them in the shop. Helped a lot of families do placement with that. I just helped an elderly woman. She adopted a poodle from Korea. She needed a hyperallergenic dog for herself with Parkinson's right now. And when the dog came in, I worked with the person who brought the dog in, and it was just a match made in heaven. It was just fit. So we see things like that happening all the time too. So that's, again, another type of job for a dog.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right, Heidi. Well, like I said, I think we covered a lot of ground here. Anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, again, I'm just so proud of my volunteers and everything that they do. I have 118 of them.
Wow.
Always looking to recruit more because, as you know, LAX is a huge airport. We do have coverage every day at the terminals. And, you know, I'm going to put a wish out there for any really awesome techie people. A lot of people, you know, we're trying to figure out, and this is a conversation I have with some of the other airports, how in real time can people know where the dogs are, right? So it's kind of like the Uber, you know, when you call an Uber or Lyft or, you know, any of the car services, and you can physically see where the cars are coming, right? So this is something, you know, some airports have a banner up, you know, saying the dogs are here right now, but, you know, people are busy. So a lot of times you're not going to see the banner. And where do you place that banner? You know, we try to post, and the volunteers, when they're there, you know, on our Instagram, you know, the LAX's Instagram, our Instagrams, when they're arriving to the terminals. But, you know, if you're not on Instagram at that point in time, you know, sometimes the airlines will go, hey, we've got a pup here by gate 13. But if anybody can come up with an easy, not expensive, you know, idea how we can, like, all of us can, you know, show where the pups are, you know, at LAX and all the other airports at real time, I would love to know about that.
Interesting. Well, I think we're going to go down a little rabbit hole here. So, because I'm in, you know, the marketing space and a little bit in the tech space. So first question is, how many at LAX, for example, how many pups are at the airport at any one time?
Any day we have between 10 and 15 dogs, different times, different terminals.
Got it. Okay. And you said, you said something about doing something on Instagram when they first get to the airport. Are you doing like geo-targeted ads to them?
So what they'll basically say is, hi, you know, Tiffany and Sergio.
Who's they?
Bradley, you know, come and see us.
So they'll say that on where? On
the PUP Instagram.
Okay, so on your Instagram. Got it. Okay,
and then
so
a lot of them have their Instagrams as well.
Yeah, so there's basically two parts to this. One is how do you get the attention of people in the airport who don't know about LAX Pups? And then second would be the actual technology of, okay, you know, the GPS of
Right.
how do we show like where in the airport the dog is at any one point. And you know, a perfect scenario, it's like an Uber where you see exactly where it is, right? So figure that out in the terminal, and that's kind of a different tech challenge. But you know, one of the advantages is you can do geo-targeting potentially to on a location basis in Facebook and I believe Instagram also. So people that are at the airport, they're sitting there, you know, in the terminal scrolling through Facebook, they might see an ad while they're actually there at the airport because they're at the airport and Facebook knows the location. So that's kind of like from the traffic perspective of it. And then, the tech part of it, that sounds interesting, but it seems like it could be something that should be, it could be done, you know, in collaboration with all the airports that are doing a pup or pup-like program.
Right. You know, just an app or something, but again, it has to be simple and can't cost a lot of money. Trying to find a person to man that, you know. So I'll put it out there, right? You got to put it out there.
Put it out there. Excellent. Well, I'll keep that in mind. And if anyone comes to mind, or I'll be sure to mention it.
Wonderful.
All right, Heidi, thanks so much. So Heidi Huebner with LAX Pups. You can learn all about them at LAX Pups on Instagram. Did you want to mention your Facebook page or any other site?
Yeah, and I think you did our the website and LA Therapy Dogs for our Facebook page. And again, I just thank you for having me on today. This is just really wonderful to be able to share what I do, and it's been a great conversation. So I hope people enjoy this, right? They will.
I think they definitely will. Thanks so much, Heidi. And I'll also plug your phone number here again, which is 424-646-7867, and email Huebner, that's Huebner @lawa.org. So anyone in LA area, Southern California, who wants to get their dog on the bandwagon of being a therapy dog at LAX, feel free to reach out to Heidi there. Thanks so much, Heidi.
Thank you.